Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and I have a quick list for you today of things that you can do to help yourself be prepared for whatever comes at us. Now these really focus on health, but there's some other things too that I think are not going to surprise you at all, because if you're watching this video, you're probably a like-minded soul. So let's just dig right in. Number one is to maintain a well-stocked food and water supply. Now this is something that we actually did a lot when I was growing up. I grew up in a religious family that believed in having a 1-year food supply. So we always had big buckets of rice and beans and wheat and a whole bunch of canned goods, and we would have to rotate them because we wouldn't want them to go bad. And my parents, raising a great big family, figured in their mind how much it's going to cost to feed a family this size for a year. So that was always a part of my life. In fact, sometimes like, oh my gosh, we've got to eat whole grain cereal again because we're trying to get rid of this 5-gallon bucket of wheat. So I think that we can do that on a much smaller scale, where we can say, all right, what do we need for ourselves and our families for 30 days? And I think that's a really great starting point. Do more if you want. But think about things like, what does your family like to eat? And what are some things that are easy to store that have a little bit of a shelf life? Like some of my favorite things are sprouting seeds. Super easy to sprout, super easy to store, and they're so densely nutritious that it can actually get you through a tough time for a long period of time if need be. I also love things like protein bars, protein powder, flax seeds. I think you'd be surprised how actually simple it is to kind of gather up some things, but make sure it's going to be things that you're going to eat. I actually just talked to one of my sisters earlier this week, and she said that one of the things that she loves to store are things like her favorite pastas and her favorite sauces in a jar. So, find what you'll actually eat and what has a fairly good shelf life, and go for 30 days and find things that are going to give you nutrition and sustainability. And then make sure you have a nice, clean water source. Like I have these big 5-gallon buckets that stack upon each other, and they have a pour spout, and I've got like 30 of them full of water. And this is something I've had for actually a really long time, because I've just had in this mind, my thought process is, well, what happens if we can't get water? And we know we can survive for a while without food if we have to, but water we need pretty much all the time. So a good water supply, a good clean water supply is a really, really good idea. So that's number one. Number two is to detoxify yourself. So think about all the things that you might have that you need to take a minute and go, okay, how am I going to get my healthiest? Maybe you need to have your silver fillings removed. Those are causing mercury toxicity every time you talk, every time you chew, every time your teeth get any kind of bumping. So when I had my silver removed, I had about 20 years ago, all 4 quadrants of my amalgam fillings were removed. I grew up in an era where that's what they put in. And me and my siblings, we all pretty much have the same teeth. So we had mouths full of amalgam fillings. And when I was about a couple years before I turned 40, I went and found a dentist, and he removed my silver safely, because you need to find a dentist who knows how to do that, because you can get a lot of mercury exposure by having your silver fillings taken out the wrong way. So that's a really great thing to do. So it took me about 18 months to get them out. Now during that whole time, I was taking broken cell wall chlorella, because that is a heavy metal chelator that attaches to heavy metals and helps your body expel it through your urine. So I did about 10 to 12 capsules of chlorella every day during that time. I'm down to 2 a day now, so I don't do that much every day. Spirulina, and I also did cilantro. In fact, sometimes I know when I have maybe a little buildup of heavy metals, I know that when I'm really craving cilantro, besides the fact that I really love the taste of it. So do some things that are going to detoxify you. A parasite cleanse, a candida cleanse. Do these things that are going to make a huge difference in your health and in your body. Because the healthier you are, the more self-sufficient you are. Now these next few things all kind of go together. Eat organic food. Drink good, clean, filtered water. Avoid junk food. That can be a hard one, especially if you think this is just my vice. I get a Diet Coke and some French fries, and I only do that once a couple times a week. This is something to do 100%. Take junk food, fast food out of your diet 100%. And besides that, you don't want to support the fast food restaurants. They do not promote health in humanity. It is convenience and it's cheap. And we might think, oh, it's not going to hurt me and I'll clean my diet up later. There's no time than the present to clean up your diet and get rid of junk food. So this is actually one of my favorites. Now, part of this is when you start cooking, when you cook, make sure and cook your food on lower temperatures. So like broccoli, if you're going to steam your broccoli, steam it, keep a close eye on it, but don't let it get overcooked. Because not only does it lose the way it tastes, but it destroys all of the nutrition and the enzymes. So you want the enzymes in your food. So cook on non-stick software and avoid a microwave if you can. Avoid electromagnetic frequencies, so EMFs, as much as you can. Keep your cell phone far away from you. Turn it on airplane mode as often as you can. Shut down your router at night while you sleep. You'd be surprised at how that would change the way that you sleep. Avoid things like mammograms. Do thermography. When you go through an airport, that whole thing where you stand and it puts you through a bit of radiation. You might not think it's that big of a deal. Every single time I always go through, and half the time I get a pat down. The other half I get to go through that little thing that just gives a one-click beep instead of that whole radiation exposure. And you might think, oh, that sounds conspiracy theory. It's just not worth it. But I'm telling you, every little bit of radiation exposure that you get, it adds up. And in my opinion, this is something really easy and really smart that you can do for your health. Now also, I have 2 left. So also think about the products that you clean your house with and the products that you use in skincare and personal care. Organic and natural. Learn how to make some of your own homemade stuff. Learn how to make homemade soap. It took me a little bit of a learning curve, but I make a batch of homemade soap, and if anybody wants and you're watching this, send me an email and I'll send you my recipe for soap. And it's actually one batch makes 40 bars. So think about that. How long would 40 bars last you and your family? A long time, right? And there's no chemicals, there's no preservatives, there's all the lovely glycerin and everything. It's just so lovely. So I would suggest starting to make your own home cleaning products and your own skincare and personal care. And if anything, at the very least, buy natural ingredients that don't have fluoride in them. And these chemicals and things that just give us brain fog and give us fatigue and do not promote good health. So I love that one. Now the final one is kind of a wrap up of all of these, and it's to maintain self-sufficiency as much as possible. So all of these things add to that. Growing your own food, having batteries, and at the very least candles. If you can put a generator on your house, if you have a fire burning stove or something that's going to give you warmth if the electricity goes out. Now I know as a person who's been around for a while, I've experienced power outages, and it might be the middle of the winter, and we've kind of struggled to keep warm if it's been longer than just a day or two. And we just actually had a big windstorm here in Salt Lake about a month ago, and it knocked one of my friends, she was without power for an entire week because it was such a powerful windstorm and so many old trees and things blew down and blew over and destroyed a bunch of the power grid. So we don't really think about this until it happens, right? So I think that if we can maintain a certain amount of self-sufficiency, something that's not set up to make us scared, but something that's supposed to give us peace of mind because we're prepared. And that is the whole goal, because nobody wants to go, oh, 2 things. No, oh, it's not going to happen. We're not going to ever run out of food, and I can go without food for a couple of days, or I can go without going to the grocery store for a day or 2. But on the other end of the spectrum, it's like, well, what if? Like, let's be prepared. And I think a 30-day supply is such a great thought process. So if I've left something out that you're like, okay, how could you leave this out? Here's what I do. And this is super, super important. please let me know. Drop a comment and maybe let other people know what you're doing. And if you're interested in that homemade soap recipe, I have it on a PDF. And there's a module inside my course that actually teaches you. It shows me making my homemade soap. And because it's not just having the recipe on a PDF, but it's actually how do you actually make it and how do you put it together and bring the temperatures and all of this. So let me know if you want that recipe. Just jane@barlowherbal.com and I'll send you that recipe over on a PDF. But I hope you have an amazing day. I hope that you are up for this challenge of getting and staying prepared. Just do little by little. Don't be overwhelmed by the whole thing. I think that it's like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? Well, it's like, just do one thing at a time. You know, start taking care of these things that make your health really, really explode into vibrancy, because that's your number one thing. And then start slowly gathering up food that is your family's going to eat, and just get a month's supply. That's not that hard, right? All right, guys. Well, I could ramble on about this for a while. So if you got to the end of this, thank you. And I will talk to you soon.